So you're storming your way to the castle. Deneron
Mm-hmm.
is super mad
Mm.
that this has all happened. So he has some guys waiting at the entrance. He said that.
Okay.
And you're just gonna go right up into the king. And we can skip the walk because you kind of talked all the way at the end. But
Yes.
I can say you arrive at this place. It's how I described earlier, where it's this like leaning
Mm-hmm.
castle,
Mm-hmm.
and no one's there to like on either side. There's none of his boys here. There's no normal looking guards or whatever. It's just sort of everybody's here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can say or do anything you want, or you will just keep walking up if you want. If you don't do anything.
Uh, I'm gonna look at Deneron's reaction since he said that people would be here, and like I don't know, maybe this isn't really the front yet, but
Yeah.
what he thought. But I just kind of want to look at him and see what he looks like.
Um, you don't need to. I don't think you need to roll. He's just. It's hard to tell because he has a helmet on, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say he like hurries the pace further once he
Mm.
realizes. Maybe you take like a couple seconds, like look around, and then he like hustles, hustles
Gotcha.
his ass in.
Okay. I will follow.
Yeah. So you're just going just straight up, right into the door, the main door. It's not a huge place. This isn't a huge town. I mean, it's a
Mm-hmm.
castle compared to this town, but this town is like just a few buildings that are pretty
Mm-hmm.
basic size. And go right in through the gates. The gates, the front doors, and there's just this man waiting for you in the middle, just this unassuming. I don't know. It's not a threatening kind of guy, just like some middle-aged older guy.
Okay.
Um, and he just seems like he's expecting you guys. And he'll say the feast, right? That's why you guys are here.
I'll glance at Deneron and uh, let him lead, but I want to see if he thinks there's a feast.
He will probably pause for like feels like maybe 10 seconds, and I think he'll sort of give his head a little shake, just like exasperated with what's going on, and
Mm.
he'll just say like, "Yeah, show us the way." And then if you don't say to do anything, he will. No tricks. He'll just lead you into this back through this hallways, corridors, or whatever, into this not huge. I'd say like this room is probably as like big as two of that little taverns that you were at,
Mm.
and it's just got a big old circular table, and it's kind of dimly lit
Mm.
kind of place, just like a little dusty. And
Is
there,
it
yeah,
is it like stone?
whole place is stone,
Gotcha.
and there's like a couple candles, like a couple of them are like not even lit, and sitting at this place, at this table, is
Mm-hmm.
just four people, kind of
Okay.
like sitting apart from each other, kind of not. Um, yeah, I guess that's what happens when you first walk in. You can
Do I recognize any of the
focus
people?
on anything. Argo is one of them for sure. And then
Okay.
one of the four people is wearing the same sort of garb that the Lotus people were also wearing.
Okay, like the robe.
hmm but
Okay.
it's not one that you've seen, like that guy. Like it's a new guy. And then
Are
the other
there
one
any
is
guards in the room?
there's no guards in the room. There's like 4 more of those Lotus people
Gotcha.
just kind of hanging out.
Okay, what about the other two at the table?
First one that you can surmise is probably definitely the king. I mean, he's wearing a crown,
Hmm.
super old man. He's sort of like hunched, like leaning onto the table, and he's like talking into his food almost, like muttering a little bit.
Hmm.
And that is just your first impressions. You can always go further when you get closer to them.
Yeah.
And then the other guy
Yeah.
is young, maybe like 20 or something like that. Um, he's just kind of sitting there normally. He's not wearing armor or robes. He's just wearing like normal, like white clothes, like pants, just like a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the 4 people you see. Let me put my plate up quick. I'm just gonna put
Okay.
it in the kitchen. But decide who you want to interact with, if
Mm-hmm.
anyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's someone. What's the person who led us here too? There's the person who led us. It's a whole bunch of these robed motherfuckers. Cornelius seemed alright. The bar guy was saying that they kept sacrificing people, or like not to trust them. They did have a bunch of like pulsating stuff in their arms, but that happened to me once I drank it, so I think I would want to follow Deneron's lead, see where he wants to sit, if he wants to sit. But I may. I'm trying to think, should I say anything to the person who led us here? I don't know if I should say anything. I feel like that's bad, not unless I'm spoken to. But I mean, Deneron wants me to be in here because he says I have proof that there is a beast and we need to kill it. And I have blood, and the proof is I have blood on my scythe.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you do, if anything? If you don't do stuff, something else will happen. Other things will happen, obviously, but you can.
The person who led us here,
Yes.
I'd like to look in. I don't know if he's. Did that person enter?
No, he just
Yeah.
kind of beckoned you into the door. You guys walked
Okay.
past him.
And then I'd like to turn back and now first before I say this, is there
Yes.
any chattering in the room? Like as part of my initial like look, is there any just like people talking or is everybody just are they
No.
eating as well? I
They're
guess I
eating.
should say. They're
They're
eating.
just kind of
Okay.
casually eating. Also, it's like late at night. Like
Yeah.
you guys started it's probably I don't know 1 in the morning, something like that, 12:30. It's kind of late.
Yeah, it's like
So that's also a factor. But
that is weird.
yeah.
I'd like to turn back to the guy who led us here
Hmm.
and just nod and say thank you and just a simple thank you. And I want to see what his reaction is.
He Give me a perception check. If you can.
I can. An 18.
Okay. He sort of looks fearful of you a little bit. Tiny bit.
Mm,
He's trying not to show it, which maybe makes him look more fearful. Cause he's putting that effort to like not show it.
mm-hmm.
But he'll just
I
say,
am a,
you know,
I am a
very
guy
well,
sharing.
and
I am a
he'll
guy
leave.
carrying a bloody sight.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Okay. But I want to look at Deneron.
okay.
Can I tell who he's looking at
He's
his
looking
general demeanor?
straight at the king. The
Mm,
way, if you want to look at it, it's a circular table. No one is sitting
mm,
on the half closest to you. The king is like directly on the other end. And then
okay.
right next to him is one of the robed guys. And
Mm-hmm.
then maybe right next to king on the other side is Argo. And then
Mm-hmm.
next to Argo is the other guy.
Just 20s guy.
Yep.
Um, I would let Deneron say the first words upon entering, and I think Foche's mentality right now is to really only speak if spoken to, but because I think that's already what he kind of said when he was like coming up. So
No,
I
that
don't
does
want him
make sense. Yep.
to be too interactive, but I do
Hmm.
think that if some shit's getting thrown around, he may pipe
Yeah.
up.
I'll just always ask. You never know. But that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dunnerman's going to storm right in, and he is going to take his antlered, horned helmet off and slam it onto the table to sort
Mm-hmm.
of interrupt the eating.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just go and order the table. The 20-year-old guy, he just
Mm-hmm.
looks like a normal person reacting would look like, probably.
Yeah.
Argo, who is still wearing his like full set of armor at the table, uh, gives sort of like an eye roll and looks up at
Mm-hmm.
Deneron. King does not move, budge at all. He's just sort of
Mm-hmm.
looking at his food, and
Yep.
then the robed guy sort of grabs the king's arm and is like, like
Mm-hmm.
just in case something's happening.
Yes.
And I guess when he sees that he doesn't get the attention of the king, he is going to march right over to the king.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, Argo is going to stand up and draw his sword immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're walking up on the king, and Deneron just sort of like laughs it off. He's like, you honestly think I'm gonna be so foolish to just come and kill the king right now? Like, you know who I am. And he says someone needs to answer for what's been happening down there. There's gonna be no kingdom left to run.
Mm-hmm.
And Argo would kind of just say like, well, that's what I was trying to do before you. And then he'll kind of motion to you, and this one here, and anyone else that loves to get involved stopped me from it. And the robed man just says, maybe it's best you two just be on your way. It's late. That's sort of what's happening right now.
One thing is with the king, is he
Yes.
uh is the king two things. One is the king still just staring at his food,
Hmm. He's
just
like
like
eating.
muttering.
He's like eating, but
Yeah.
he's like muttering. Yeah.
And does the king look sickly or just old?
Yeah. Give me a check for him, because there's a lot you could pick up, and there's a lot you could not pick up.
Like I'm trying to think like we've seen Lord of the Rings. I'm thinking Deneron, I think. Well, I don't know. No, actually that's not it's definitely not Deneron, that's just the name of our guy.
Hmm.
The the king Denethor maybe was his name. Like the one who is being corrupted by
Yeah.
Grima, right? Like that, like looked like sick versus just someone who's old. Like that's what I'm kind of like
I see.
Trying to look for this distinction here. Ooh, 24.
Okay. So he is. I'll just give you a description of the king then. Damn, that's a good roll. So he's really old.
Mm-hmm.
Your dude's like what, like 55 or something?
Mm-hmm.
He's probably like got 20 years on you or something like that. I don't know. He's like a really old
Mm-hmm.
guy for this time period.
Yeah.
And his crown, it's a more like modest, it's like has like the little rectangular ridges. It's like a thinner crown.
Mm-hmm.
And it has sort of etchings of um like you've been seeing it all around, but like an eye, different
Mm-hmm.
forms of like eye imagery, like sun, some plants and flowers and stuff, and it sort of has this like reddish hue going around it.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks really old for one, but I wouldn't say he looks sickly, but his eyes are like bloodshot and he's got like bags. He looks like really tired, like physically tired.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably
Mm-hmm.
the best description for him and like his face and all that. He's a skinny guy. He's not super big. He's wearing like a big, regal cape and stuff like that, but it's kind of frail. But yeah, that's him.
Gotcha. I think what Foch would like to contribute to kind of Deneron's entrance and mystique is Foch has a bunch of cloths,
Hmm.
like white cloths that he keeps on him to clean his scythe. And I think what he would want to do is, reach in to his, robe, get one of those white cloths, and wipe off the blood. Now, from Foch's perspective, right, it's kind of like this purple-ish mist,
Hmm.
right? But he, spoke with Deneron, and it looked like blood to him. So he would want to just, like on the end of his scythe, just kind of clean it, in one fell swipe, and then throw the rag, the now bloodied rag,
God.
onto the table.
Okay. So Argo and Deneron are kind of arguing.
Yeah.
The robed guy is like, yeah, why don't we all just leave? Why don't you guys just leave? Kind of like that kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And you do this, and the 20-year-old guy just sort of goes like like he's gonna be like he has to look away from whatever
Mm-hmm.
that rag is. And you can see now multiple of the road people like in the background are sort of like coming now towards the table.
Mm-hmm.
And they're questioning you, like, how dare you do this right now? And they're
Mm-hmm.
like coming in hot.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you say or move or do?
I'd say, um, I have, uh, I would say I would still be standing at the end of the table, but as part of that act and kind of seeing everybody's reaction, being like, they seem to not like that I did that. I would say, this is the blood of the beast that I have slain. There is not just one beast, but there are multiple.
Mm, that's it.
And I would try and say it like loud, so I'm not just like, I'm trying
Right.
to proclaim it to the room and kind of make a bigger deal of it. And I'm looking around at everybody, but I am looking at but specifically Deneron and the king as I'm saying this.
Okay. Well,
And
you'll hear
kind of
Argo
like,
say,
yes.
well, of course there's multiple, you twit. And then the robed man will just quickly he'll be like, this needs to cease. It's this is not becoming of the king. There's no reason that any outsider should just be able to walk in here. You have to leave. You know, the beast problem is under control, and there's sort of like three other robed guys like standing right behind the king now, like right next to where Deneron is.
What does Deneron look like?
He is looking at the king for an answer. He's ignoring the robed guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once the rogue guy probably starts saying that, Deneron probably like grabs him, like his arm or something, or like by like the scruff of his robe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the king does nothing. And something else will happen here, but if you want to say or do anything, you can.
A couple things. One, has anyone approached me, or is it
No.
just kind of getting behind the king, like
Yep.
protect the king kind of thing?
Yep.
Um, and I don't think Foche would say anything in this moment, but
Yeah.
I think that he would not like back down from the table. Like I think he would want like how wide is the table, would you say?
7 feet diameter,
Okay.
kind of wide.
Then I would say he's still standing at the other end of the table, so he's relatively close to these people. But I think he would watch how Deneron is kind of responding
Mm-hmm.
and see that the king doesn't react. And I think his first reaction, especially off of the visual description of him, is that the king is like not like I don't know if in Foch's background he hasn't really dealt with anybody who's been like someone who's been like possessed or something. But I think
Mm-hmm.
from his perspective, just based off of hearing stories about it, I think that's what he would assume that description is. So I think he's very wary of the king not
Mm-hmm.
being himself. But I don't think he would do anything right now. But he is going to stand at the end of the table, still holding his scythe.
Then when all this is happening, you'll then hear the words uttered, "They will join us," from the king's mouth. Very
Mm-hmm.
clear. It's not like any sort of mumble or anything that's going on. It's very
Mm-hmm.
proclaimed. And there's got to be like a few seconds of silence after this happens.
And he's still looking down when he says it.
Yes.
Okay.
But he's not muttering anymore like after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the robed guy just sort of protests a little bit. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
this is like unbecoming. It's unworthy of them just to be here, to barge in like that. And he's sort of
Mm-hmm.
trying to appeal to the king. And give me a perception check. Yeah,
19.
19. You notice something, a shimmer or some change in the shadow, the light. Like I said, it's not a very well lit place.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of creeping up the leg of the robed man. And like you can adjust your eyes and like blink it out, and it's like, there is some sort of something moving up this guy's body.
So is he standing?
Yeah, he's like gotten
And
up
I
to
see.
kind of protest.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to do
What
anything, but
is Deneron? I'm gonna look at it and then glance at Deneron and see if Deneron notices it, or what Deneron's looking at, I guess.
He takes maybe a step or two back after the king speaks, and he puts his helmet back on.
Okay.
He does not notice this other guy though.
Mm-hmm. If it's going up his leg, I'd like to, watch kind of while he's still protesting and see if it, whatever this thing is, I would want it to get a little bit higher. But I think that he would kind of, instead of just kind of holding his scythe in one hand, he would probably hold it in two hands. Just, in a wary stance. But he is watching it like that specifically. I don't think he's glancing around anymore.
As it creeps up, you sort of notice that it's like a sort of snake-like creature type thing. It seems to be made of like pure shadow, so it's hard to like call it a creature, but it's like the clear silhouette and like slither of a snake. And you notice it sort of like go up the chest and like around the neck, and then you notice like multiple, like 2, 3, 4, 5 heads are just sort of enveloping this guy's head.
Is he reacting at all to it?
He does not.
Is anybody reacting at all to it?
I think if you were to look at everyone's reactions, I think only Argo would be sort of like
looking at
it, but not in like a scared or intrigued way. It's sort of like a yep, like it's expected sort of look. But he can see it for sure. If you're trying to tell who can see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh. What does fucking Foche do? What would he do in this situation?
Could do nothing.
I think Foche's first thought is not about the robed guy who's standing right next to the king, right?
Yeah.
Hand on the king.
Mm-hmm.
I think Foche should be worried for the king at this point, especially with the king saying they will join us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like instead of thinking that this is like a beast, I think Foche would think that, this guy is trying to do something to the king.
Right. So will you take action?
I think Foche would say, Foche will say, we will gladly join your cause, my grace, and look at the robed person and say, please step back.
And as soon as you say we will gladly join, the thing just sort of like goes back. It's gone. The rope guy looks kind of annoyed though. I don't think he realized what just happened, but just at your words, he looks a little annoyed. But he sort of glances at the king, and I mean, you're a huge guy with a big scythe. Deneron's right next to him, so I think he'll sort of just okay, sit back down, and he'll like motion for you and Deneron to get a plate and a cup of water.
Okay.
Plate of chicken.
So does it seem like the robed people are like servants, or is it other people that also get it, and the robed people are just also there?
The robed people are doing everything in this room at least. They seem to be guarding and serving. But
Foch is like Foch is confused by that because Foch was assuming that, like with Cornelius, like it was like an own separate thing. But this is the same garb as what Cornelius was wearing, but it is
mm-hmm.
these people are just straight up in the room.
Yep.
Because what Cornelius was describing was like there's like diminishing and diminishing numbers, and I expected it to be like some separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
But none of these people are Cornelius. Would, on the off chance, could I make a roll maybe and see if I recognize any of them
Mm-hmm.
as any of the people that were in that session, like
Mm-hmm.
any of the robed figures that I've seen, like the ones that were looking
Yeah.
at the bodies, like anybody.
Yeah. You can do a roll.
And that just be a perception check.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be high.
It's a 19.
You don't
Not too high.
recognize any of them.
Yeah. Then, yeah. Foch will still, kind of follow Deneron's lead and see if he sits, but he is wary of not Cornelius per se. Cornelius seemed pretty down to earth, but more just of these robed figures because he thought the robed figures were like separate from the sentry, and it seems like they're much more intertwined with the castle than
Yeah.
he
You're right.
anticipated.
It is weird.
But yeah, he will, if Deneron sits
He
and
does.
eats, then I will sit. But uh, does Deneron take his helmet off to eat?
He does. There's a little bit of hesitation, but it's sort of like he gives you like a go with the flow look. Just, you know, you tried to make your waves when you first came in.
I'm going to take like whatever a bite of something, like a little tiny bite, and I want to kind of raise my mask and eat under it while looking at
You can do that.
Deneron. Sorry.
Yeah, you can do that.
Does he give any indication at all that I should take off my mask, or does he approve of me keeping my mask on while eating?
Yeah, I think it looks like he's like, that's a good idea. Like he probably wishes he had could fold or bend in that way to where he could kind of do that, like his own
Yeah.
one. Um,
Okay.
so you eat, do you eat and drink, or do you actually pretend? Do you leave it?
I do. I wait for Deneron to do whatever I see Deneron do. Like if he eats, then I'll eat.
Okay.
If he drinks, then I'll drink.
Okay. He will eat, he will drink, and he will. It's gotta be like a few seconds after he eats and drinks, and you eat and drink. He
Yeah.
starts staring down that 20-year-old kid. Like,
Okay.
he's like, it's like he's looking at him in a way where it's like how did I not even recognize this? Like he's
Mm.
just like
Mm.
daggers. And probably not shortly after that, the kid sort of who looked very grossed out at the rag and stuff that you had
Mm.
done,
Yeah.
uh, sort of excuses himself because his stomach isn't feeling well. And he
Mm.
leaves in one of the back rooms, to one of the back rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I think Deneron would also say that he is not feeling too well, and he'll try and follow him back there.
Hmm.
So that's the next little sequence that would happen.
I think with that, Foch would look for any glance from Deneron to indicate whether he should follow or not. Like he's going to be hard looking for if there's any sign that he thinks that Deneron would give him to
I think
follow.
kind of under the table, he'll give you like a
Stay.
like a stay hand.
Okay, then I would follow that, and I would continue to eat. And
Okay.
is anybody talking? I mean, they obviously excuse themselves, but just is there any chatter at all? I mean, the king, is he still, even though he spoke then, is he still just bloodshot staring at the food?
Yeah. I mean, he'll take like maybe like a bite a minute or something.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing crazy. And it's not that anyone's saying anything, but you know, as more and more time is passing and you're, you know, enjoying this meal or whatever with them, give me roll a d20. What is a d20?
3.
3?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Let me think about that for a second.
Let me process that low number.
That's really low.
I've been rolling above 10 all night. It was due. It was due for a low roll.
You would get. Okay, also roll a d4. Or I can do it too if you can't.
No, I got it. I just rolled it a 1.
A 1?
Hoping that's good. Yeah, 1.
Okay. You will be getting a like slowly increasing into just a bang, just headache, like you've had earlier. Like just splitting, ringing pain. And everyone else is kind of just like looking at you. And as you're like kind of like feeling it, all that stuff, and you look up, the king makes direct eye contact with you, even though you're wearing the mask.
Yes.
And you get this like flash memory image in your head of it's like a first person perspective. It's assumingly you, it's like a small child version, like 6 or 7 or something like that, or could be even younger, um, on a boat and just like out in the ocean. And there's people casting out these like huge, like really like giant, like fishing rods, like huge, and they take like 3, 4 people, like man, each one.
Yes. Yeah.
And this one guy who he's probably like, I don't know, like 30, 35, super like jacked guy. He's got a big beard. Um, he sort of helps reel one in, and like what lands in front of you, like on this like ship deck, is it's like it's some sort of weird. It's not like a fish you would think. It's like got like a fishish type shape, but it has 6 little legs sticking out the bottom of it, and it has 2 really big eyes that are glowing. They're glowing purple, and um, you know what it is when you're watching it. It's just whatever you guys are out there fishing and hunting, but everyone sort of comes around and marvels at like the big glow on this one. And the guy who reeled it up says, "Well, that's a hell of a beast we got right there." And then whatever that is, it's over. And that kind of all happens very suddenly for you at dinner. Nobody says anything to you though.
Can I roll a deception check to see how much I can hide
Mm-hmm.
my pain?
Mm-hmm.
19.
Pretty
So
well.
yeah, I'd say you.
They probably, if someone wasn't looking at you, they wouldn't know. It's a pretty good way to hide. Like,
Yeah, then I'd say Foch would kind of do like a cough, and then shake his head and say, "Excuse me." Like it seemed like he just had something in his throat. But is the king still looking at me?
mm-hmm. He's looking dead at you.
With him looking more at me, since the 35-year-old, like, huge guy was such a prominent part of that dream,
Mm-hmm.
do I, either perception roll or not, do I think does Foch recognize that guy as the king or no?
Give me a roll. We'll see. Just D20. You don't gotta do perception. Just no modifier.
D20.
I'll just
A
decide.
nice 10 right down the middle.
10. Okay.
Nice right down the middle.
Well, that's perfect then. I would say you can't be sure.
Mm-hmm.
The thought comes into your mind of like, is that him?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell if the thought comes into your mind just because you're sitting right here looking at him, or because there actually is a resemblance. So it's enough to have you think about it, but not enough to where you can tell for sure. And it sort of just came and went too. So
Yeah. And is this a memory I actually have? Or is it
not,
a vision?
it's not one. No, no. Like if someone brought up this exact story yesterday, you'd be like, sounds cool. Like you'd have
Mm-hmm.
no memory associated with it.
Yeah. Foch would say that. Sounds cool, bro. Looking sick. Sick fish. Um, I think Foch, since the king is looking at him, having all these thoughts, I think Foch would think that this is his best chance to possibly engage with the king.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he would say, My Grace, I'd just like to thank you again for allowing me to help your great town and for allowing me to sit, or allowing me the honor to sit at this table and eat food with you.
He definitely takes it in. He's not just kind of still going like he was earlier when other people were talking.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, he commands the rest of the room to leave you all after taking like a pause of thought.
We take this
Argo immediately gets up and leaves. He does not hesitate to listen.
to the back of the room.
No, to leave.
How did how do they leave? I mean, is they like through the back room that
Mm-hmm.
like where Deneron went?
Yeah, it's not like a room back there, like a singular room. It's just like an exit to this room. So
Okay.
who knows where the hell that goes? But yeah, he's quick. He gets up and out, and then the other guys in the back sort of file in and out quickly. And this one guy does not, the robed guy. He's the only guy left in this room with you too. He stands up and he he's like, this is not safe. It's not something I want to allow to happen. As as your representative, it's unwise of me. And you immediately see that snake thing slither up and just completely envelop this guy again. And then you notice the king sort of glances at you. Like, what are you gonna do about this, or if anything?
Mm-hmm. Foch
This is
will
all like in a
glance.
moment too.
Yeah, I would say he would see that and he would say, the king has decided it. If it would make you feel any better, you may, uh, I may put my scythe towards the back of the room, or you may take my scythe and put it towards the back of the room. I promise no harm to my grace, or to our grace, I
Hmm.
should say.
And then he'll sort of like scoff at that, and he'll he'll sort of say like, as if that's supposed to make me feel like any better at all. And he starts walking towards you kind of quickly, and as he does, the entire like top half of his body just, it's as if it was just squished by like a fist, and it just like pops, and his legs are what remains, and they take like a half step and just fall like right in front of
So to process this, so I need to understand. So, one, did the shadow do that? Did the shadow disappear at all?
you. Didn't disappear.
But it doesn't look like the snake constricted or anything.
It definitely moved. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. It
So it
popped him.
seems like the shadow thing did that.
Yeah,
Okay.
in that moment. Like it was chilling, and then as he started to say that and march towards you, then it did it.
Um, Foch would certainly not be able to stop himself from kind of scooting back in his chair from that. Another thing, did like blood splat out everywhere,
Yep,
or just straight up
everywhere.
just okay,
Yep.
just covered it like just the table.
Yeah, it's like a just if you just did a little paint splat, just
Mm-hmm. So King is also now covered in blood.
I wouldn't say covered. I mean, he was kind of
Oh
walking
yeah,
between you guys, but he definitely got splashed.
yeah, and same as me.
Yeah.
Then I think Foch would certainly scoot back in his chair, probably like dual hand his like scythe and look towards the king after the legs fall. Like, are this the king surprised by this?
No, he's just sort of sitting, and he's still just looking at you,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, "What are you gonna do now?" Sort of look.
Mm-hmm. I think Foch, with his heart beating in his chest, just immensely, just thinking, just in his head, just like, holy shit, this is, I think it is completely switched in his head, and he thinks that the king is controlling the fucking that maybe not all the shadow beasts, but at least that shadowy creature,
Yeah.
which he doesn't like too much.
Right.
But I think he understands why this dude's king. You know, it's a fucking crazy power move. But anyway, Foch is certainly it's completely flipped. So now he doesn't think the king is a victim in the sense that he's being controlled by some of these robed people. But I think Foch would kind of pause and scoot back in his chair and, you know, essentially try and not glance towards the now bottom half of these people, this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he would say, If, my grace, if there's anything that you would like to say to me, I am all ears.
He'll say, "How old are you?"
Foch would say, "Oh, I'm
Yeah, whatever 55 is.
yeah, yeah, like
Okay.
it's like over 200,000 days old." So he
Yeah,
would say
right.
that.
And the king will sort of look up and down Foch, and he'll go, "So you can see them then."
Foch kind of nods and says, "Yes, I can see them."
How long have you been able to?
Foch will pause and will say, "I was not able to see them when I first came to this town, but I spoke with the priest, uh, Cornelius, about how to help with the beasts, attended one of his sermons, and we discussed how it would aid me to see them if I were to drink this liquid that they drank ceremoniously. And I did. I felt a rush through my body, and now, ever since then, I've been able to see these creatures."
So they got their hands on you before I could. They're quick, but there's no going back now. I'll sort of like lean back in his chair.
And Foch will say, "Do you mean the beasts, my grace? Or Cornelius?"
To me, they're one and the same, but I suspect that they're meaning to overthrow me. Although they've been helping me for some time.
Foch will kind of nod and say, "Something has felt off about all of these robed figures ever since I've been here." So you're saying they were helping, and now they maybe are. I would say he wouldn't say that second part. I would say he
Mm-hmm.
would say, that they were helping and now they are overthrowing you or attempting to overthrow you.
That water they give out, I mean, they've been giving it to me for, I don't know if they'd have the term decades now, but for that equivalent amount of time.
Yeah,
Um,
just
and for thousands of days now. And it's helped me keep a lock on things. It's helped making threats to the kingdom and ne'er-do-wellers and anyone else sort of keep at bay, but he still looks like tired as fuck when he's talking.
mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
he's talking, but he's like seemingly could just pass out any moment.
yeah.
And he says, but I think they're seeing my age now. I think they've forgotten who the king is. And that's why they brought you up here, so close to me. You're my replacement.
Foch would, kind of slightly shake his head, not like in a quick way, but just in a slow way, and just say, "Well, understand, my grace, that I came to this town to get rid of a beast. And from looking at you, and I can only imagine after drinking that liquid they've been giving you for thousands of days, that it is not you who is the beast. It is them. And I am not here to replace you.
I don't think you'll have any choice. I didn't have any. And you sort of see him like start to shake a little bit. Like he's, I don't know, getting a little shaky. And he reaches quickly for his like goblet and like chugs the last of his water, and he sort of like chills out after that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see here. You know what?
I think
Yeah.
after him
Say something.
drinking that, I think Foche should say,
Oh, I just did a
"My
roll.
Grace, if you need me to take out these robed figures and help you from ceasing their overthrowing, then I will. I will in a heartbeat. You just say the word."
I'd help you myself, but they're too strong. They're they're not strong in force or in might, but they've controlled me, and I'm connected to everyone here. If you take one of them out, there'll be two more popping up. You don't know how many people in the city and the town that they've influenced, how many outsiders. It's sooner or later there will be no kingdom. And as soon as I wake up, it's gonna be over for you as well. That's why I think they brought you in so late. So if you're gonna do anything, you should probably just kill me now.
Foch is going to shake his head, and he'll say, "My Grace, I I do not understand. I came here not because the robed figures wanted me to. I came here because
Because
Deneron
why? They
came
had you.
down."
Deneron is. They know him. He's a fool. He's been here since he was a boy. He's a prince in a nearby kingdom, and he grew up with my son, and he's very, you know, he's got a large heart, but he's easily manipulated. I'm sure they just had some terrible accident or something happen that caused him to storm up here conveniently with you at this time on this day. It's meant to be. Just kill me before I wake up. And he's gonna stand up and kind of start walking over to you slowly.
Foch will stand up as well and, you know, stand with, standing next to the king, and will say, I don't know what the fuck you would want to say. I'd say Foch would look at the king, and I want to first, can I make a perception check to kind of look in his eyes? He looks dead tired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can I kind of gauge the sincerity
Mm-hmm.
of what he's saying? rolled a 3, so 10. A 10.
Um, can't tell. This is so much happening right now. You can't get like a read like that on somebody, and this
Mhm.
it's happening so fast.
I'm trying to think and decide about how does Foch feel about the whole Sentry and Kings and all that, because he's been quite a loner.
I can answer
And
that kind of.
yeah, you go.
Um, I think it's just people that you don't even think about that much at all. They're like so far above whatever's going on. The only reason you've gotten this high up is because you happen to be in this one spot, and
Mm-hmm.
most people in this town are like already dead or like fleeing or like locking themselves in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like tiny amount of people that are out, and they're probably gonna be more important people.
Yeah.
Like typically, you just don't even have an opinion. They're just like some of them are really bad, some of them are fine. It's just like so far above thinking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I agree. Then I'd say Foch would stand up as well and say, "My Grace, I do not understand why I have to be the one to kill you. If if I am somehow your replacement, does that not mean that they'll just control me?"
It's it's only been a few hours for you. You can still control yourself. I just need you to do it because I'm too weak to do it myself. And he'll sort of like unsheath this like gilded knife and like hand it to you, shaky hands. Please, quickly.
So she'll be slowly shaking her head and just say, "You are not a beast, my Grace. I, and Foch is going to take his mask and put it behind his head.
It's gonna take it off.
Yeah, he's going to put it behind his head.
Roll a d20. I'll do it too.
12.
I got a nat 20.
Mm, I'm hoping that's good for me, right?
As soon, I'm assuming you have this has happened, you gotta make eye contact with the king
Yes.
without the mask on. As soon as this happens, you are presented with another image, vision, memory, whatever. It is of the same man. He, you're watching from a first person perspective of someone very young, and it's definitely the king. You can tell
Mm-hmm.
if you've had that thought like after the last one, and now when you're coming back, you probably have it in your mind.
Okay.
It's definitely him. You can tell he's gotten right up close to you in real life.
Yes.
This is the same guy.
But it's just a young version of him.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice that he is farming. He's just like on a field. You're on a field. He's just like, you know, tilling some
Tilling the
stuff.
land.
Hmm.
Yep.
And that feels very similar to what you were seeing the first time. You get this sort of like overflow feeling now, where it feels like someone is pushing that away and pushing you to see something that they want you to see forcefully. It felt like these last two just happened like the moment you made eye contact, like it was just like a thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this feels like a deliberate like overriding of what you're seeing now. And it shows, the same view, what you're looking at. And it shows this huge sort of like rumble in the ground. Like, birds start flying off. Like you can hear some animals in the distance sort of run away and fly away and like stir up. And, the king sort of comes to you in the vision and sort of like huddles over, you. And you both turn to the horizon and you see towards the coast. Because there's, water further down. You guys had gotten back from that fishing trip or whatever. You see this huge, like, flash of just light.
Mm.
And it just washes over everyone, you and the king. And everything goes past you guys as far as you can see. It's completely gone. And you see him sort of looking, he like drops the utensils he's holding and he's just sort of looking around at like his hands and like where he is. Like he doesn't know where he is. And then you get ripped back to where you're at right now, making eye contact with him. Now, he'll do something, but you can say or do probably like one thing before.
Foche said, "You are no beast."
Mm-hmm.
Did his mask, was there a head pain associated with it?
Nope. Felt a
I
lot
just
smoother
figured,
this time.
yeah. Uh,
But yeah, what you said is what he will respond to, is pretty much what I'm saying. So,
yeah, he'll say what he wanted to say as part of taking off the
mm-hmm.
mask. Foch, after seeing this vision even more, he wants to say it is he will say, "Do you recognize me, my grace?"
And he, a few things happen here in sequence. So,
Okay.
firstly, he was coming at you with a knife briefly when you refused him again. You could see
Mm-hmm.
him sort of angling up. Then this exchange happened, this vision happened, and he takes like a step back. And then you say that. And then you can clearly tell he's like shell shocked. And he just says, it's you. Like, you were there.
Foch will say, "I was where? What do you mean, my grace?"
At the fields with me. You were from my village. You would just help me on trips. What happened to you?
Oh, yeah, you go.
No, just what happened to you?
Foch is shaking his head and says, "I is shaking his head and he says, "Your Grace, I don't know. I have you been, whenever I have looked at you, my Grace, I've gotten these flashes, these memories."
You drank their water. They knew this. They knew this was happening. This, and he sort of just takes like a step back, and he's just like bewildered at what's going on.
Foch will say, "My grace, you said that it is no coincidence that Deneron was here. He told me not to show you my face. Why would he tell me not to show you my face?"
How could he have known? Did were there any of the Lotus members in the town around Deneron? Had you seen?
Yes, I was. He was. There's always been. Yeah, okay. I guess he would assume that the Lotus members are the roped figures.
Mm-hmm.
He would say,
That's what
yes.
Cornelius called themselves.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yes. I'd say, yes, they've almost always been around.
And he'll say, "You really are my replacement, then, in more ways than one." They they have this power to restore what's been taken from people like us. But it just comes out all wrong. It's not it's right for this world, but it's not right for the world. What we need. And the water is the key to it.
Foch will say, "What if I do not drink their water anymore?"
You might still have a chance at controlling your power. I wasn't. Do you remember a time before this era? You were alive.
Foch will shake his head and he'll say, "No, I do not remember none. None of my family members remembered anything before either."
And that's the reason why they have so much power. They can show us what our lives were like, our true lives. My life before any of this ever happened. We're getting older now. And soon there won't be any more of us left.
Foch will kind of shake his head and say, I've I've left that part of me behind. I I don't have any connection to what happened before this era. All I have is what has happened in this era.
It never leaves us. You were a child, you had a family, you had a life. We all had lives. This, to be able to talk to me now, is because of the thousands of days of me taking their potions and their waters. I have almost become the person I used to be. And it's taken this much of my life to get back to it. I think they must be desperate. You were so young back then, you probably had hardly even started, but it was still a life, and it was taken from us. And the other me doesn't know that. And he doesn't care about any of that. And that's why you need to kill me before he wakes up.
Foch will say, Foch will say, I will kill you if it is what you want me to do.
It is what I want you to do. I can't promise that the other me, the king, will not try and stop you. But if we're quick, you can end this, and hopefully control your own power, and set right to this kingdom. And he'll hand you the knife if you take it.
Foch will look down at the knife and will look back up at the king and will say, "You will be the first thing I will ever kill that is not a beast, and I will take my scythe and I will try and cut off his head."
Okay. Give me. Can you do a D100 roll?
Okay.
I have a certain range in mind.
Google does not have.
I can do it for you.
I got it. Rolladie.net. Roll. Take a screenshot of it. I got a 96.
For real?
I did. I can send it to you.
I believe you. Wow, okay. You go for the neck. The scythe makes contact with the neck. You hit him. There's a bit of blood that spurts out. He sort of closes his eyes, and then you feel resistance. Like you just can't fall through.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine you would probably move the scythe back. There's honestly no other direction you could move it. You can't keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice a seeping black, almost like claw that has come from behind his neck and has caught the blade. And his eyes open back up, and he's looking at you with just absolute fury. And I'm going to roll one thing to hit you. Let's see if it does. Ooh, 29.
No, it doesn't.
Roll it. That was a really crazy roll. You will get. You take 3 points of damage, but you will get hit clear back into the wall of the room by something you don't see. And as you steady yourself and get back on your feet, you notice that the king is standing very tall now. He's looking straight at you. And wrapped around his stomach is a tail, just like a normal looking monkey, lion, whatever tail. And then wrapping around outside, it's connected to a large, what looks to be like a lion. And it's completely made of the same black, shadowy goo. It's sort of dripping onto the ground. It has this mane that's sort of bellowing around itself, and it has 3 eyes in its face. And the king sort of is looking at you and is pointing. And you can see now the lion had just whacked you into the wall. Because it has like kind of one paw lifted that it's like setting back down. And that's what you see when you stand up.
So is the lion separate from the king?
It seems separate, but it seems to be wrapped around.
Like the tail is wrapped around. Yeah. And is, just from looking at this scene, does it look like there's a cut in the side of the king's neck?
Mm-hmm. He's
Okay.
bleeding.
Okay. Then, then I would say that Foch is already trying to attack, and this is obviously some kind of defense mechanism from a beast of some sort, whatever that is controlling. I think Foch should fully believe the king and think that this is like the other king, not the one he was just talking to. And I think that Foch would attack.
Okay. All right, we'll do initiative then. To see who goes first. You're definitely going first. I'll tell you that.
I got a 19.
Yeah, you're definitely going first.
Okay. All right. Then Foch, how far back from the lion?
10 feet.
10 feet. Okay. Then Foch. Now so the beast is 10 feet from me.
They're standing next to each other, so.
But yes, like because the scythe has reach,
Right.
which means that it can attack for 10 feet.
You could hit both of them.
Okay. Then
Either one.
I'm going to do, I'd say, just 3 attacks against the lion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll roll those 24.
Yup.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that is 15 plus 4. That is 19 damage,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty fucking epic. We'll take that. 19 slashing damage, I should say.
Got it.
And then roll for the second attack. And so this is just, I'm primarily trying to slash at the lion's face. Like, since I'm so far away, there's not really any like tripping or anything that I'm going to be doing, just trying to go back and forth against the lion's face. So, oh, fuck. Can you quickly Google Rangers Flurry Blow? Flurry path, because I did not have that in my picture because I have a reduced multiple attack penalty.
Okay. What's it called? Flurry path?
Yeah, flurry path, yeah, I guess. But just, yeah, flurry, like, essentially it just gives you reduced attack penalty.
Got it.
Pathfinder.
Dun, dun, dun. Found it.
I just don't know if the attack penalty is -4 now or -3.
I believe it is -3.
Yeah, okay, instead of -5. So that means that it is a 20 to hit.
That does.
Does hit, okay. Then that is 9 plus 4, 13 damage, slashing damage. And then roll one more time. Hell fucking yeah. That's a -6. That's a 19 to hit.
Nope.
Nope. Fuck. Okay, that's fine. Then I will take 3 slashes, all against the face, but the last one misses.
Okay. She'll do those 2 slashes, and immediately on the king's face, 2 gashes appear. Blood spurts out, coinciding with the lion, and the king is furious with you. He's seething in anger, and he sort of just screams, who dares attack his king? and the lion is gonna open its mouth and let out a huge roar at you. And as it does that, you notice the inside of its mouth is glowing red, and this billowing burst of flames just comes blasting out of its mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. I swear to God, it's a nat 20. I swear to God.
I can tell by your reaction that
I swear to God.
And you're like, and it's a.
I can't believe that.
Okay. Yeah, I
Okay.
believe. I believe.
No, it is. Okay.
Fuck my shit up, dude.
I mean, that's definitely gonna hit.
Yes.
So it is gonna be.
I need some of those.
14 damage times 2 for 28 damage.
28. Okay.
This fire just completely envelops you. You sort of try and hold up your scythe to block some of it from your face.
Yes. Okay.
That was one attack.
What the fire breath is only one action.
It's two. It's two. And
the roar isn't one.
No, that was just for drama. And honestly,
dude, it'd be so funny if Foche dies here. I'm fine with that.
no, I know. I'm planning as we're going. I'm trying to think of what he would do with one action left after this.
It's so funny.
I think he would move up close to you.
Okay.
So he would use it just to get within 5 feet. That's it.
Okay. Yes. Kind of run up. I think. And does the king move at all?
Yeah, he has to. They're tethered.
He moves with him. Okay.
And like as you stumble back, he'll tell you, like, kneel before your king. Move up to you.
I am not doing that. I think Foche would. Now, I want to look up. I'm going to look up tripping real quick.
Okay.
Because I think. Well, yeah, my.
Yo, you tripping.
Yeah, because I can essentially trip somebody with my scythe. It's like a hook. Okay, this reach adds weapon item bonus to attack rolls and item bonus to the athletics check.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is it just against your fortitude DC, I guess?
Let's just do it that way. I think that makes sense.
Okay. Then I'll get this set back up. Okay, then I think he would try to trip the beast.
Okay.
With one action. And since he's right next to him, and it would make the beast prone.
Okay.
So that is an athletics check. I swear I've gotten 3 3s, dude. So that's a 10, which I'd imagine is not less than.
No.
Do I have a hero point?
Yeah, you got one in time.
Okay. I got a 2.
Yeah, that doesn't do it either.
Fuck, man. That fucking sucks. Okay, well, I attempt to trip, and it is not a critical failure, I'd imagine, right?
No, it's not critical failure.
Okay, then there's no concerns there. I just failed to trip. Fucking miss judge where the shadowy legs of this lion are.
Mm-hmm.
Then I will make an attack. I'll make an attack. Yeah, I'll make 2 attacks against. And how about I'll say this in terms of from Foche's perspective, and you let me know if you would know this from
Mm-hmm.
or like more, this is more of a gameplay perspective, but like, does Foch interpret, like, it's obvious that they're kind of sharing damage, but does it seem like, does Foch think it would be easier to hit the lion or the king? How about that?
Easier to hit the lion. It's
Okay.
bigger
Then,
and it's defending the king. So,
yes. Okay. Then he will still attack the king, or the lion, I should say, and he will do 2 attacks.
okay.
Okay. 21 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
Okay. And I will roll damage. Need some big ones here. Okay. That is 15 damage.
Okay.
And then I'll roll second attack. Fuck. That is a 17 to hit,
No.
which does not. So yes, so after trying to trip, he does slash again. He tries to do like an uppercut slash after, kind of failing the trip against the face and hits it, but then coming right back down for a second slash.
Mm-hmm.
The lion dodges out of the way.
So they go right through the lion's chin and the upper. It just sort of lodges itself. Pull it out, and the king immediately grasps like his face. You can see blood pouring out, and then shadow oozing out of the lion. And now that it's his turn,
Yes.
so he is going to then, take his hand off and do this towards you, and the lion is going to attempt to pounce onto you.
Okay.
Now, I got a certain roll here, which is going to give you the ability to counterattack, which I'm making up. I think it
Okay.
makes complete sense.
Okay.
So, roll. We'll do it in 2 steps. Roll a d20 first.
Okay, just straight
Just
D20.
straight.
6.
6. Interesting. Okay.
These low rolls keep happening at the worst.
Well, you don't know. So, it's leaping in the air to pounce you. And you will have the opportunity, your reflex of killing so many monsters, to respond with your scythe. Where would you like to stab this lion as it's coming in on you?
I think after seeing the impact to the jaw, I think I would want to go for the lion's throat or jaw, like
Okay.
do another upper hand cut kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since I missed my downward slash after that, I feel like I would be in the position for that. So I think I would go for the throat or the jaw, like just this area of the lion.
You swing up, and your scythe lodges directly into the throat of the lion, and it's sort of hanging on there. It reaches you. It's clawing at you a little bit. Maybe 1 or 2 hit points. I'm assuming you're not about to immediately die.
No,
And
not.
but more importantly, as you make this connection, you see running up your arm is this snake-like shadow that sort of slithers up your arm and branches out onto your scythe. and grips around the lion's throat.
Mm.
And that was what I was having you roll for. And the 6 that you got, so the feeling that you get when this happens is it's instinctual. It's to defend yourself. And I can give you a split-second reaction, but you see him coming at you, you instinct to block. And this other part of you, this newer part of you, instinctually comes out in defense as well. What is your immediate reaction to noticing that happening? And that will determine what happens to the lion.
I think that Foche the immediate reaction. I got to think more of that. I think that Foch would.
Would he accept it or try and resist it?
I don't think he would try and resist it, but I
Okay.
think less so than accept it. I think in that immediate reaction,
Mm-hmm.
I think he would not think of it as like a new part of himself or I think he would I think mentally he is so focused on killing this beast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at this point this is probably one of the first and only times, because he didn't view the king as a beast,
Mm-hmm.
that he doesn't have his mask on
Mm-hmm.
when fighting. And so, because I think because of that, he does not feel in his element. He does not feel like he's hunting right now. It feels like he is trying to finish a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And normally, where there's been normally when Foch is hunting, there's kind of this, his heart rate goes up. If he's wearing the mask, like flames start to come out of his eyes. In this moment, I think that Foch, for this king, wants to kill
Right.
this lion. And so I don't think he would reject it in any way, but I don't think he would accept it as like a, yeah, this is good, but I think
Mm-hmm.
he would not.
He more
He
just
would
lets
not.
it happen.
He's letting it happen. He would not reject it, but
Got
I
it.
don't think he would accept it. Now, if it forces him to accept it because he's not rejecting it, then that's
We'll
that
see.
is fine. But in terms of that instinct reaction, he's not going to reject it. No.
Okay. So instinctually you swing the scythe up, it skewers the throat. The lion sort of hangs limp a little bit, sort of clawing at you, and these snakes sort of slither up your arm onto the point of the scythe and wrap around the neck of the lion. And you can notice in your periphery the king sort of closing his eyes, and the throat gets crushed. It's as if your scythe was sort of aided, and the head of the lion falls right in front of you down to your side, the body in front of you, the ooze sort of splattering over you, and at the same time, rolling towards you is the crown that had just fallen off of the king's head, which has just been disconnected from his body as well, as both of them sort of lay there and the shadow creature sort of evaporates into the air. You're just left with the crown and the king's body.
I think that Foch would, stand there breathing, just exasperated the whole
Mm-hmm.
fight. It didn't feel like a hunt. Like he said, he didn't think this was a beast, but it was just an old man that's been manipulated and,
Mm-hmm.
begging to be killed. I think that Foch would look down at the crown and he knows that the king wanted him to rule the kingdom, or at least, implied that like I could fix it as long as I didn't drink their liquid. But I think that Foch does not believe that, the whole point of why he came here was to kill a beast. And he's still, even though he cannot remember what happened before this era,
Mm-hmm.
he has, lived, 40 plus years of his life,
Mm-hmm.
in this endeavor to hunt down beasts, hunt down one specific beast that he still has yet to get. And I don't think that he would want to get the crown. So I think he would pause for maybe 20 seconds. And if anybody came into the room from that, then we would go from there. But I think he would be thinking,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get the crown. Do I think anybody in this town should get the crown? And I think it would take him a good 20 seconds to think that nobody in this town should get this crown.
Okay.
But does anything happen within those 20 seconds? Because that's a long amount of time.
Yes. Um, you can have all those thoughts and everything, but
Yeah.
you wanted to finish this job and you let this power go. You didn't try
Mm-hmm.
and check it or pull back or anything like that. You just let it keep doing what it was doing.
Yep.
And you feel it inside of you now in the way that, you can still see them on your arm and on your scythe, and they sort of pull back and seep onto the ground in front of you. And you see it's like all these sort of shadowy snakes are going over each other and in each other all around. And they
Mm-hmm.
move across the ground and on to the table, where they sort of keep spiraling and shaping and forming until they get larger and larger. And there is a new creature in front of you, and it's connected to your shadow,
Mm-hmm.
which is its tail, it looks like, which is sort of
Yeah.
these ever revolving, rotating snakes as a tail. And it has a
Mm-hmm.
much more humanoid body. It's much longer than a normal human man or something like that. And it's sort of sitting with both of its legs bent, like it's sort of perched on the table, has extremely long arms, and a raven's head with two large wings sort of kind of huddled around its body. And it's sort of sitting there, like manifested now in its full. And you already know and realize this is your personification of the
Mm-hmm.
beast. and you feel connected to it, not in a way that it controls you or you control it, but you both exist now in these forms. And it looks at you, and you can hear in your head it saying, "What will you do now?"
Foche will think back towards it and will say, Foch will say in his mind, "Am I done with this town?"
Like he's asking.
Yeah, he's asking the beast.
That's not for me to say.
Foch will say, "I don't think that." What would Foch do in this situation?
It's tough.
I think that what I want to just kind of look at this, raven creature.
Mm-hmm.
What are my feelings towards it? Like in terms of just a general, like vibe.
Yeah.
Like I understand that, for instance, I don't think Foe should want to attack it, right? Because it is
Mm-hmm.
part of him. It's like the lion was a part of the king, and so like that would just kill Foch, which I don't think Foch is about. I don't think he would want to
Mm-hmm.
kill himself in this moment. But does he view it as a separate entity or just an extension of himself? Like
Yeah.
what?
It's interesting. I think the important thing is it's what he has viewed himself as for all this time, but he can just now see it and speak with
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he would know the exact specifics of if it has its own intelligence compared to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's sort of the thing where like when you have like a dream and you have like a bunch of stuff happening in your dreams and conversations, it's like really all of that
Mm-hmm.
came from your brain. It's just you having all those
Mm-hmm.
conversations with yourself and doing all those
Yeah,
events. But like in the
exactly.
dream, you don't feel that way. So it's hard
Mm-hmm.
to say if it's just like a copy of his intelligence or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that, but it definitely feels familiar. Doesn't feel strange.
Yeah.
I think what's important is if he does feel like he needs to, if he hates it or strike it down or do whatever in the moment, and you saying he does, and I think it's probably the most important
Yeah.
initial reaction.
Then I think Foch, while just looking at this beast, I think he would take his mask from behind his head
Mm-hmm.
and put it over his face. And then from the beast's perspective, as soon as it goes over his face, I think the eyes would be alight with flame, but not like blazing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of like dying down as Foch is kind of getting more and more calm. And Foch would look down at the crown that's on the ground and then would look back up at the beast, and Foch would say in his head, I think we should destroy this crown. I don't think that there is anything we can do to save the people of this town. But I do think if there is no king, if there is no crown, then people may feel as though they can leave and start a new life rather than just have someone new as a ruler.
And the beast will sort of move one of its wings, and one of its feathers will fly through the air like a razor blade, hitting the crown immediately and seemingly infecting it with some this like black ooze, like venom-like looking thing, as it sort of cracks throughout the crown, and the crown just crumbles into dust. And the beast says, even with all this, you're still a hunter. We need someone new to hunt. Who will that be?
Based on the castle, and it's like a tower, right? It's like a leaning tower, based off of kind of how we got to this dining room. Would there be any, like, how deep into this place is the dining room? Like, would it be easy to leave, do you think?
It'd be pretty easy to leave. It probably took you like a minute to walk here from the entrance. And you didn't really pass it. It's like not that many people here, it seems like. It's like kind of unkempt.
I think Foch would look at the dust that was the crown. He would kneel down, take out one of his many bags that he has, and slowly just try and put the dust of that crown in as he has collected trophies from many different beasts that he's slain. And, he's almost doing it absent-mindedly, and as he's doing it, I think he would say to the beast, he would say, are you just a figment, or figment of my imagination, or can you help me fly?
And he'll say, I am whatever a hunter requires me of to be. And his wings can just open wide.
Then I think after Foch collects all the crown dust, I think Foch should look at this raven beast, and he says, and I think, and I think he'll say this part out loud. He'll say, you asked about our next target, or our next prey. I think we have a dragon we need to hunt. And I think that Foch would turn and try and get to the top of the tower.
Okay. So you mentioned. So which part did you say out loud? And which part did you not say out loud?
He said you said we need new
Yeah,
prey.
exactly.
I think we have a dragon we need to hunt. That's all
Yeah.
he said out loud.
Okay, but you didn't say anything internally. I guess that's what I was asking. And
Okay.
yeah, you can make your way to the top for sure.
Is
Especially with
there anyone
wings.
along the way? Yeah, you said.
I I think I honestly think if you have wings, um, like there's a window or two in this room, you would probably just leave that way.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
if you want to go internally though, I'm saying you could leave that way. You could try. If you want to go internally to the top, um, you also probably definitely could. It would be the opposite. It would be the way you came in to this room, so it wouldn't be the way that everybody went.
Yeah.
The way you came in, it was kind of like you enter and there's like these staircases going up and everything, and you kind of got led around to the back in this like sort of main little
Yes.
big room area at the bottom. So I'd say you could do either.
I think Foch would not think to go through any window, but I think he would want to go internally
Hmm.
up the tower because
See
he
if you'll
wants
run into
to,
somebody.
yeah, survey around. He's not, I don't think he would think about seeing other people. I think Foch is kind of in this hunter state now.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, this roll is pretty interesting. You can make your way to the top. It probably only takes you about 3 minutes. If you're just hustling, you have this thing helping you. You
Mm-hmm.
do pass on your way up a few robed people who are
Mm-hmm.
all laying dead on the ground as you pass them, with sort of
Mm.
this red glow to their veins in various positions, as if they just like dropped. Um,
Do I see any of their faces?
yeah, some of them are like on their back and stuff.
Do they, similarly how to that woman was killed when I killed that beast,
Mm,
do they have slashes across
no,
their face like the
no.
king? No.
It looks
Okay.
as if they just dropped. The only weird part about them is their veins
Yeah.
glowing red.
I would take a look in my arm when I
Hmm.
saw that for the first one. I know that when I drank the potion there was just these veins, glowed for a moment.
Hmm.
Are there any glowing in my veins?
I'd say there's like a faint hue.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have noticed it at all. Like there would be nothing, but once this raven has started like manifesting itself,
Mm-hmm.
that's something you'd probably notice, like that feeling, like that energy coming from you.
Okay. Then I think that Foch, upon seeing that, would assume that, like he said, it would confirm more his ideology that this town cannot be saved
Mm,
because, his first thought is that everyone who was touched by a beast or whatever, you know, whether it be these robed figures, but also, anyone who was marked, you know, would be dead. Now he doesn't know if that's true or not, but it only heightens his resolve or whatever, his
hmm.
idea that he should get out of this town. And so I think he would maybe quicken his pace a little bit.
Yeah. So you can make it to the top. That would be the only things you would encounter on the way up.
Okay.
Um, and once you get to the roof, what do you do?
I would like to look around the the surrounding area. I mean, it's nighttime. I don't know if the moon is out, but I'd like to see. This is probably a very high vantage point compared to a lot of things that Foch has seen typically.
Hmm.
But are there any major landmarks that he sees? Any lights? Like, is there a city? Anything that he can see within, the miles he can see around him?
There's like there's obviously the lights from the town that you're in, like where you came from. I would say in the direction that you came from originally at the very start of this, you can see the lights of the city that you sort of breeze through just on your travels. Everything else is pretty distant or just like woodlands and trees and stuff.
Then I would say that he would fly back towards that city
Okay.
with his new hunter raven
Hmm.
beast.
And as you're flying through the city, the beast in your mind, it sort of says, what's the best way to word this? We can view that king as a gift giver, for he showed us the greatest beast of all. We now know of the one who has truly taken the most from us and everyone. And you can feel it like almost salivating, like excitement in his heart at the prospects of you, going to find this dragon and then doing and finding whatever it's implying now to do. Like its heart rate is almost quickened, and yours in tandem is sort of on its own begun racing further.
And I'd say since my heart rate has gone up, since we're flying through the sky, I'm still wearing my mask, and Foch thinks to himself, there really is no need for me to take off this mask anymore. I think Foch has realized that with the manifestation of this beast, he is now not going to just lay low and just do hunting contracts here and there. He just wants to do this full time. And so his heart rate is also getting quicker. And as he's wearing this mask, the flames start to go out in his eyes or start to rise in his eyes. And since they're flying through the air, I can imagine that the flames are kind of licking past his hood as they're just going through the air. So it's this crazy looking Grim Reaper with a black raven, shadow raven with flaming eyes or some shit like that. Yeah. But I think that Foch would also be excited and is looking very much forward to all of the next beasts he's going to kill.
Okay. Honestly, yeah, I feel like the end there seems like a good spot.
Good spot as anything, I'll tell you that.